Take two, everybody, coming at you not quite live. Fuck the intro, we've already done it. I just want to get back into this.
Yeah, this.
Basically, my internet's shit, so this is take two of episode 7. Real great. If it goes down again, we'll just cut.
Okay.
Um, we'll just keep talking, and if you don't hear from me in like 3 seconds, stop talking so that I can yell at Discord some more.
I'm just gonna keep. I'm gonna keep talking. You can't make me stop.
Okay. You might want to record your own dialogue then. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so anyway, now that the mood's been horribly killed, and we had to start over, I met Spike Lee last night on a Zoom meeting between NYU, KU, and USC. Yay!
Hey.
Man, this sucks. Still try and act our way through this. Jesus. So yeah, it was cool to see Spike, and actually get to see him. I was kind of just so awestruck that it was like I just was internally like an episode of SpongeBob where he's running around going like, "What's my name? What's my name? What's my name?" um, yeah, I just sort of stared at my monitor the whole time and had to actively force myself to blink. So I didn't just look super creepy. But yeah, we talked a little bit about the Five Bloods. Danny Bilson, who was also one of the creative minds on board that script, he was there too, representing USC. It was really almost insane though, because he goes, "Hey, I see some of my students from USC, way to represent." Spike Lee goes, "Oh yeah, there's some NYU people." Kevin Wilmot, representing KU, just goes, "Oh hey, Stuart, there you are." And I'm just like, "Oh shit, I just got a shout out." So that was definitely something. um, but yeah, really, really cool, really inspirational to hear from Spike. Um, and it was kind of cool that I don't know. It was just really weird to see a celebrity who was just using his phone to zoom in, and he was like, basically just, "How do I use this thing?" Sometimes he's like, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me?" And he's like, "I get it. It's a new technology, but you're like basically standing at the top of the industry, Spike, and you don't know how to use your own phone."
That's what he has an assistant for.
Yeah. I guess in this case it'd be his wife, who must have not been there tonight or last night. I don't know. Um, yeah. I just realized that we're also 3 weeks behind, so no one's gonna actually hear this, even though last night was October 9th. We're recording this October 10th, so it'll be almost the end of October by the time this goes out, I think. So that'll be fun. Yeah, just to date this because it was a pretty cool moment. Um, anyway, yeah,
Right.
now that we've caught up on everything and my internet hasn't crashed again, where were we?
Well, we were talking about Desperado. I rewatched Desperado last night, and it was as good as I remember it being. I really enjoy some Robert Rodriguez from time to time,
Oh yeah.
and that's what we were talking about while you were fixing your internets.
Yeah. Oh man. Um, oh well. As of a few days ago, between last episode when I was like, I haven't been doing much, and this one, I did see Tenet. Um, Forgot to plug that in there again. I'd give it a 20 out of 10. It definitely makes Tarantino's work with a chronological order look like child's play. Um, you definitely have to see it to understand it, but it is really insane. And I guess Christopher Nolan did buy a real plane for this, for a scene where he wrecks a plane rather than doing miniatures,
Oh,
because apparently that doing teeny tiny sets that take up like a tabletop would have cost more than buying $1 million+ plane.
what?
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah,
Hmm.
he wrecked a real plane. So yeah.
You got to do what you got to do. I'd
Yeah.
love to wreck a real plane.
You
Oh my
probably already
gosh.
do that in just the lavatory portion of it.
Actually, I've never. I've peed in an airplane once. Otherwise, I typically just try to hold it. I hate going into there.
I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever taken a shit on an airplane.
I know I
Never,
never have.
never, ever, ever. Because, okay, so here's my line of thinking. Um, you have to mess with, if you got the window seat, then you have to mess with the two people, you have to get across to get to the aisle. And hopefully you don't run into one of the stewards or stewardesses. And
Flight
hopefully you
attendants.
don't run into somebody going to the bathroom. And then once you're in the bathroom, what if there's like bad turbulence or something?
Well, it'll just
Yeah.
be like a rumble chair and shake it out of you, right? Why have we turned into this podcast? God damn it!
Okay, so I'll relate it to a film deal. So anybody remember Vegas Vacation?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. So you remember when Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo are making out in the bathroom and her foot gets stuck in the toilet. It gets flushed. So he's trying to save her foot and they come out there. His hand is blue, her foot is blue.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of thinking. It's like, what if something of mine gets blue?
Yeah.
I'm
Like you get a
blue,
little
da
bit
boo
of.
dee da boo die, and da boo dee da boo die.
Maybe that's how the Blue Man Group started. They each took turns in the bathroom of an
Giving each
airplane.
other swirlies.
I mean,
Oh,
that would probably be the most interesting backstory.
God. This
Probably less
goes from
creepy.
Spike Lee to literal shit in zero point 0.4 seconds.
Okay, well, I guess I'll share my viewing this week. Um, so two films I've watched that really stuck with me, Last of the Mohicans and Looper. I'll start
Mm.
with Last of the Mohicans first, and with Daniel Day-Lewis,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, one of my all-time favorite actors, Wes Studi.
Oh, yes.
I love Wes. Oh, he should have gotten that fucking award a long time ago. Uh, but it hits me that those are the kind of movies that don't come along as much, with that um, just those beautiful nature shots. I mean, just gorgeous fucking nature shots.
So, what's the difference between a nature shot and a fucking nature shot then? A Nat Geo
Oh,
documentary?
Oh, fuck you. I'm gonna skirt around that question. But anyways, I mean, has anybody else seen Last of the Mohicans?
I'm aware of it. I might have seen pieces of it years ago. Give me like a rundown of it.
Yeah, I've
Okay,
seen it.
okay. So, Last of the Mohicans is about this white guy who was adopted by this Mohican family named Hawkeye, played by Daniel Day-Lewis. He and his adopted brother and his adopted father, who is played by the uh, American Indian actor, and I will only be saying this one time, activist Russell Means. Um, they get caught up with the British side during the French Indian War uh, because basically Hawkeye gets a crush on this British officer's daughter, and gets into conflict with Wes Studi's character Magua, who is this Huron who's got a enormous grudge against the officer and his family.
So it almost sounds like The Patriot, but better.
Oh yeah, yeah, and more historically accurate.
Yeah.
You know, and I like The Patriot, but my gosh, that movie's historical accuracy and so forth.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, The
And
Patriot was pretty good. But anyway, continue.
yeah, and I mean, I haven't read the book. All I know about James Fenimore Cooper is the scathing critique uh, of his novel. I think it was The Deer Slayer, made by Mark Twain. It's really hilarious. I um, but so basing the film on its own merits, I think that it is honestly one of those films that's so people will probably criticize it for lack of dialogue or for the dialogue being clunky or whatever,
Yeah.
and I perfectly understand that. But movies like that and Jeremiah Johnson and The Revenant, they are really special because they really are looking at America in its um, prime in terms of its environment. Because I mean, just this gorgeous frontier that's all but now. I mean, it's been reduced to such a shameful uh, margin.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at
Mm-hmm.
Last of the Mohicans and you wonder how much of that still exists. I mean, it's kind of like Jeremiah Johnson. That's all supposed to be in like Colorado or something, or not Colorado. Well, I don't know, but you get my drift.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that struck me about Last of the Mohicans was Russell Means he has this speech toward the end as they're overlooking the frontier and the sun setting in the west. And he's talking about how Hawkeye's descendants will, you know, they will go west and they will settle the land and they will suffer hardships and this and that, and their those descendants will then do their own thing, and the West and the Mohicans and Hawkeye's descendants will disappear, and then that'll be the end of it. But once we were here, and that uh, I don't know if anybody's ever realized this, but another Daniel Day-Lewis movie, uh, Gangs of New York. The
Mm.
last speech in that movie, uh, Leonardo DiCaprio talks about the future, and he's like, "Will anyone ever know we were really here?" And that's just the weirdest connection. Uh, that ultimately, I think, kind of links these two movies together. Where does America really remember its fucking history and how, I mean, insanely dramatic and gorgeous and violent and beautiful it all was?
Well, man, speaking of that, when I went to Utah a couple years ago now and saw Arches National Park, I remember there was this rock. I think it's nicknamed the Newspaper Rock, and it has essentially like the equivalent of cave drawings from centuries ago. And yeah, there's a little bit of graffiti on there, which is kind of like a shame now, but it's like you look at that, and then you look at like basic things like a fucking road in America, and it's like
Mm.
I seriously have doubts sometimes that American architecture can like stand that. You have fucking Notre Dame Cathedral in France that unfortunately was reduced to almost nothing. Um, and thank God they were able to save some of it. But I've been there, and some of that architecture, especially around the back of it, is just so mind bogglingly beautiful. And then you look at like anything built within the last 20 years here, and you're like, that looks like shit. And sometimes they build a place and immediately tear it down like 10 years later. And it's just like, this is ridiculous. Yeah, so will anyone remember us in the future? That's a good question. I think it depends on where you're at.
Yeah. But I also think it's definitely something for the movies that, movies like Last of the Mohicans and Gangs in New York, those kind of movies that are exploring a specific time in America and a specific place and really, uh, like in Last of the Mohicans, really showing you the land and the beauty of it. I'm kind of
Hmm.
afraid those movies won't be told anymore because basically I think so many people want to make uh, fantasy films or contemporary like superhero movies or whatever. So, and I don't think a lot of those movies really pay attention to like the beauty of nature and geography
Mm-mm.
and and really history. I think a lot of time it's a lot cooler than what's in a comic book. So, uh, so it kind of made me nostalgic.
Yeah, I mean, well, going back to we're speaking of history, let's talk about Spike Lee and Kevin Wilmot some more. You know, you've got Black Klansman, that's basically like an unknown bit of history that probably would have remained in the dark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it just boggles your mind sometimes the history that's out there and nobody makes it into a film. I mean, you would have think as soon as something like that hit the shelves or even like the tiniest bit of knowledge, somebody would have been like, "Oh, let's make that into a film."
I'm still dying to see like a biopic of Adolf Dassler. So to kind of segue a little bit into this, I'm sure you guys are very familiar with the Adidas scandal at KU. So
Mm-hmm.
you've obviously heard of Adidas. Well, guess where that comes from? Adolf Dassler's nickname was Adi, and so Adi Das. He was a shoemaker in Germany, and it was actually Jesse Owens who wore the first pair of Adidas shoes. And, well, we all know how that part of history turns out. But it's kind of like, hold on a fucking second. Like, yeah, it's just a pair of shoes, but there's a lot of cool history there, frankly. And I believe it was Dossler's either brother or cousin who went on to found Puma in direct competition.
Oh,
Um, and then I don't know why I'm still talking about shoes, but I just learn random trivial bits of history. The story of the marathon race is from uh, Marathon to Athens or the other way around, where I forgot the name of the guy, but anyway, he declares victory in um, Greek, which just so happens to be Nike. Yeah,
then he died just as soon as he said that.
he collapsed out of exhaustion, but
Yeah.
there's two very, very, very interesting stories that I think should be made. And yeah, they're fucking shoe companies now, or other sportswear, but like they literally come from the most interesting stories.
Yeah.
I mean, you look how uh, you guys have heard that uh, miniseries, The Good Lord Bird,
No.
about John Brown.
No, I haven't heard about that.
Okay. Well, the book is it's based on a book, a really good book. I recommend it. Um, it's almost a Huck Finn kind of story, really.
Ooh.
And it's about this slave boy named Onion, who, yeah, Onion,
Okay.
who gets freed slash kidnapped by John Brown. And there's quite a lot of humor. You'll have to. I don't know if I can really explain it. But basically, Onion spends several, almost, I think, like 12 years or something, pretending to be a girl.
Huh.
Don't ask me why, because it's just read the fucking book
It
or
definitely
watch
sounds
something.
interesting. I need to look this
But
up.
anyways, I mean, it's kind of like that. You know how many years people have been. I know Spike and Wilmot and Quentin Tarantino have all tried to do a story of John Brown, and nobody's really been able to do it. So it's taken us how many years to make a movie about John Brown, which is a really cool story.
Yeah. Well, and it's really interesting to hear about John Brown because in Missouri, I'm sure it's a much different story, but sometimes even in Kansas, there's certain areas that look at John Brown as kind of not really a hero.
Yeah. Basically, you either think of him as this almost savior, or you look at him as a maniac on the level of a terrorist,
Yeah.
which I think comes from a not a lot of people talk about John Brown, or they don't talk about him with uh, much historical accuracy.
Yeah.
So, and of course, a lot of when he was mentioned in early Hollywood, it was always as, oh, John Brown, the fucking maniac, the
Yeah.
religious nutcase, which apparently that's not the case.
Yeah, what did they nickname the guns? The Beecher's Bible or something like that?
Yeah, Beecher's Bible.
Yeah.
And yeah, somebody pointed out that also the story of John Brown, it's really interesting because the people involved in his capture and execution included Robert E. Lee, Jeb Stuart, Stonewall Jackson, and John Wilkes Booth.
Holy shit, what?
Yeah, either at his capture or at his hanging, all of them were in some way involved.
Wow. Talk about butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Um,
Jeez.
yeah. So it's a really cool story. That people have been trying to tell for years, but it never got off the ground. So finally is getting somewhere. And I think Ethan Hawke playing John Brown is absolutely
Ooh.
brilliant.
Man, that would be awesome. Okay, I definitely need to see this again. What's it called?
The Good Lord Bird.
And it is out or it's being made?
It is out.
Man.
I think it's HBO maybe.
I actually am writing this down.
I believe it.
Oh, HBO. Well, alright, Landon, get back to us on that. I'm not gonna
Okay.
spend $20 a month just to watch one good show.
$14.99.
Ah, went up again, damn it.
No, $14.99.
I know, but I thought it was like $11.99 at one point.
I don't know what it is anymore. I don't know anything.
You just watch the stuff, right?
Yeah. No, I get HBO through my cable package and yeah. And through that I get the HBO Max app, so
Nice.
All right.
So Joe, you had another movie.
Oh yeah, Looper.
Oh yes.
I know it came out a couple years ago, but I had never watched the whole thing through, so I decided to go back and watch the whole thing.
it's been a while since I've seen that.
And
Yeah. And honestly, I would give it 3.5 out of 4 because only one thing bugs the hell out of me. Okay, so Joseph Gordon-Levitt is the younger version of Bruce Willis. And anything that happens to Levitt happens to Willis,
Mm-hmm.
right? Levitt falls from a fire escape onto a fucking car and basically passes out. Why doesn't it happen to Willis? That was the one thing that pissed me off.
It's called They Fired Their Continuity Person at some point, I'm guessing.
But everything else they did fine. They did great at it. So that's the only thing that holds me back from calling it a perfect movie.
I don't know. If there's one movie that's similar to Looper, I would say Limitless. And I like that a whole lot better.
But isn't Limitless, doesn't that involve drug use?
Yeah, but
Is not time travel?
I feel like there's kind of some time travel in there. It's been a while since I've watched it, but for a film like Limitless, you'd be surprised that I praised the cinematography and artistic value of it because there was one shot that I really wanted to try and recreate several years ago where it was himself and it shows him like moving a couch basically with like what's essentially a clone of himself, but it just is meant to represent him moving a lot faster or something. Um, and that shot just like really blew my mind when I was younger. I still honestly barely have an idea of how to recreate
Well, there's your homework.
it. Yeah.
But
Like without
uh,
using a green screen, you'd either have to use a morph suit or like mirror the image, I guess. But you'd still have to have someone moving a couch like perfectly. So
right. Um, but yeah. Anyways, no, I thought Looper was this wonderful blend of like sci-fi and noir, and to me, what makes it, I didn't think about it till I watched it, but it's like the travel back in time question. It's kind of that a different answer to the if you went back in time and you could kill baby Hitler, would you do it? Looper is kind of like, well, why would you kill baby Hitler? Why not actually give the guy a great fucking child?
yeah.
Maybe then he wouldn't have become such a, in Eddie Izzard's words, mass murdering fuckhead.
Yes, but also that kind of gets back to Tenet talking about the grandfather paradox of if you could go back in time and kill your grandfather, would you be around to commit the act?
Right.
So it's like, because if you
I,
killed baby Hitler or changed history in even the tiniest way, I'm a huge believer of the butterfly effect.
oh yeah.
But anyway, I just remembered that I'm not thinking of Looper, I'm thinking of Jumper.
Okay. Okay. Now
That's
that
why I
makes
was like, why are you giving this movie such good remarks? It was like, oh wait, no, I'm thinking of a different one.
Yeah, yeah. I was kind of like, what kind of comparison? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. Are they like a series or completely unrelated?
I think they're completely related.
Ah, gotcha.
As far as uh, but yeah. So I thought it was really good. And I kind of so I liked how they dealt with that question, theoretical question, and maybe that provides us to segue into our. You wanted to discuss Jojo Rabbit?
Ah, yes. Yes, so speaking of Hitler, really clunky segue, I guess. Yeah, Jojo Rabbit, I saw that a couple days ago. And I had kind of put off seeing it for a while because I'm like, it's a movie about Hitler question mark. And so everyone kept saying it's a really good movie, blah 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 blah. And so I was finally like, all right, it's at my local library. I'll check it out for free and give it a shot. And man, I was laughing my ass off through most of it. There's some very serious parts that really do a fantastic job of, I don't really want to spoil the moment, but when it gets serious and Jojo and you come to the realization, okay, basically yet again focusing on shoes. When you see a pair of shoes in the movie, it's doing like the 3-bit thing where it's like, here's the shoes here, here's the shoes here, and here's the shoes here, but in a much different way. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, that scene was like, oh, okay, Jesus.
Yeah. To
Um,
the point where you didn't need to show the face to realize.
yeah, it was really really good. I really don't want to say anything else for people who still haven't seen it who are listening to this. Would strongly recommend it because Taika Waititi as Hitler is fucking hilarious. Especially the fact that I don't know, am I just quoting things that I hear? Probably, but is he actually Jewish?
Who, Hitler or Taika
No, Taika
Waititi?
Waititi.
I believe he is, but I can fact check that really quick.
Well,
Yeah.
anyway, if he is, all the more hilarious it is because it's like, yeah, fuck off, Adolf. The end scene when Jojo just kicks him out of a window. Man, although I gotta say, for child actors, what is it, Roman Griffin Davis is the kid who plays Jojo. Roman Griffin Davis, yeah, something like that. Anyway, he's really good, but I think my favorite character was actually the kid who played Yorkie. Like, he was. I honestly wanted to see more of him. Because I love the part when they're in the middle of the war towards the end, and Yorkie's just like carrying a fucking bazooka or a
Oh god.
panzer thing, and he just drops.
Yeah.
Blows up the store.
Oh my god! And then they're all just like fucking in the middle of chaos, and JoJo's like, "Well, technically I have a girlfriend," and Yorkie's like, "Oh, good for you." That part just got me. It was really good. Overall, yeah, movie like also 20 out of 10. Like it was good. It
Yeah,
was really
I
really
would
good.
say that it tastefully discusses like a really difficult topic
Oh yeah, cuz like
to address, and therefore it is, yeah, it is definitely I'd give it 20 out of 10. It's really fun to watch.
every moment where somebody does something wrong, they either redeem themselves or they essentially like know that they fucked up. Like the part when the truck is driving off to the war with all the soldiers in it, and they're all just like, haha, Jojo, fuck you, haha. And then they come back, and his mom's like, ah, welcome back, boys. And they all look like shit, and all of them are like injured and stuff. Um, and it's like, well, they are Nazis, so we can laugh at that, I guess.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, you kind
So
of.
just a quick search, it turns out, well, on from Wikipedia, so you can take this as non-reliable if you want to, but it says that Waititi refers to himself as like a Polynesian Jew, and he has Jewish, like Russian Jewish descendants from his mother's side.
Well, okay, that's weird to call yourself a because one's an ethnicity and one's a religion.
Yeah,
Not
but I believe that he
necessarily.
gets the Polynesian from his father's side. So his mother comes from like Russian Jewish with a little bit of Irish mixed in there, but then the Polynesian would come from his father's side.
Ah,
So he refers to himself as, or claim, yeah. But of course this is Wikipedia, so
I feel like a
you can take
statement
that
like
as you
that is a
want.
little hard to um, fact check or debunk either way.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
but
anyway,
that was just what I found on a quick search. I didn't really dig too deep into it.
if he
But
is, all the better. If not, he still does a fantastic fucking job playing Hitler and just absolutely fucking like Joe and I, we've seen Look Who's Back, and what was the other one? The other
Mein
one was a
Führer.
true story where it was like Hitler kidnaps like an acting coach or something like that.
Mein Führer, that was the name of it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I,
Both of those, especially Mein Führer, were kind of funny, and at times you're like, can we laugh at this because it's pretty fucked up? But I feel like add Jojo Rabbit to the list. You've got Look Who's Back, Mein Führer, and Jojo Rabbit. Those are all really good films that take the piss out of Nazis, and Jojo Rabbit especially, because Taika Waititi, when he occasionally comes in and he's like, "Oh yes, we're having unicorn for dinner tonight," or when I don't know really why, I feel like they cut out some stuff around it, but Jojo and Hitler are dressed up playing like cowboys and Indians, I guess, and the mom walks in and he's just like, "Hello," she can't hear you. Hello.
Yeah.
Just like, what the fuck? Oh, but man, what was the guy's name? Captain K or something like that?
Oh yeah.
Man, his redemption arc was fucking great. It's really hard because he's like, well, he's a Nazi, but he wasn't, question mark.
Yeah, well, it was like he was, but you could, his loyalties were, he was not really invested in it.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, what can I do for you? I'm just hanging around this fucking shithole of an office babysitting children all day.
He he's definitely the guy who wants a war, but he's not exactly thrilled who he's fighting for.
Yeah. Oh shit, was his assistant Theon Greyjoy, by the way?
Yes.
Oh my god. I'm like, hold on a second. That guy looks familiar.
Yeah.
Captain Klinzendorf.
Yeah.
Yeah. And basically, you get the sense that there's something going on between
Oh
those two.
yeah, that's right.
Are you talking about Finkel?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Kay and
Yeah.
Finkel. Yeah.
Oh man, and the other scene when the SS or the whatever the fuck, the like
Yeah, the SS.
bureaumen come in and they all just stand around, Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler. Please don't fucking isolate the audio of this. And they
Okay.
all just stand around Heil Hitlering for 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Did
well,
anybody
that
else
was
notice
actually, I think that was a nod towards another movie because it's been done before. It was Spies Like Us, and they did it with Doctor.
I
Oh
think
It was
shit, I have a
Kevin
copy of
Spacey and Dan
Spies Like
Aykroyd, and
Us.
they're like, Doctor, 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 Doctor,
Oh my
Doctor.
god.
did anybody else notice how tall the one SS guy was?
Yeah, it was
I
kind of
can't think of
creepy.
his name, but you know,
Like the only guy who had a name, basically.
basically yes. Because here's him, here's Sam Rockwell, and it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew he was tall, but not that fucking tall.
But yeah, going back to Tenet for a second, both Tenet and Jojo Rabbit, for being somewhat serious stories, they both have a lot of good quippy moments in them.
Yeah.
Like, I was
I mean-
surprised when John David Washington in Tenet said some of the things he did, because it's like, kind of just like took me for a loop there. Is like all serious 1 minute, and then he's like, ah, yeah, something quippy, and it was like, oh, pff, okay.
I guess I kind of put off watching Jojo Rabbit because I don't know, there's just a lot of films that basically just are so goofy when they treat World War II or whatever. And while you may laugh, there's nothing like really. They're entertaining maybe for a second, but they won't really stand for you. Won't really stand the test of
Yeah.
time. I think Jojo Rabbit is definitely a film that deserves to stand the test of time. Like, because quite honestly, it's almost like a Kurt Vonnegut story, you know? where uh, the sound of death and the sound of laughter are standing right next to each other,
Yeah. Well,
and then right in the middle, this is what I love. Right in the middle, there's a German guy singing "Heroes" by David Bowie.
man, I noticed that the opening credits of Jojo Rabbit, I was like, this is a German rendition of I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles?
Yeah,
Mhm.
It's like,
yeah,
Ich bin ein. Da, 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 da. It's like, I want to hold your hand. And it was like, I know the beat, but this is in German, I think. And
yeah.
so, even that level of almost, I guess you could call it comedy, of just like
I,
making everything so nationalist. But see, here's the thing: if I were German, I might have a slightly like bitter tone to a lot of the films being made. But I
yeah.
think even Jojo Rabbit, if you can honestly come away from that film without cracking even a smile, um, you're taking life way too seriously.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's two things. The only song they didn't translate into German was oh, okay, so when they're at the little Hitler camp and they're, doing all this supposedly fun stuff,
God, yeah.
like burning books like good little Nazis.
Okay, kids, who wants to burn some books? Ah!
Yeah. Yeah. And they're playing this song, and I'm like, I know this voice, and it's Tom Waits' I Don't Want to Grow Up. They did not translate into German, which is
Uh,
probably a good thing, but it was so hilarious. If you know Tom Waits, you will understand me when I say this. Um, but then my second point is, I think that uh, definitely, I think it should be appreciated by German people because it's like not everybody was a fucking Nazi. Look at
exactly.
Scarlett Johansson's
Yeah.
character. Look at uh, and even Sam Rockwell was like, your mother was a good person. I mean, an
Yeah.
actual good person.
A lot of films, like Tarantino, kind of paints a bitter image of like all of Germany. Fury, is Fury the right era?
Yeah,
Okay, I've only seen it once, so I don't know a whole lot about it. But Jojo Rabbit doesn't make every German look like a Nazi. And I'm sure Germany's been sick and tired of that shit for several decades now.
yeah,
Um, it's one thing that they don't talk about their history, but it's another to call every German a Nazi these days.
yeah,
Because I've been to Germany for just one day, but the little town of Rotenburg ob der Tauber has a lot of history to it, and it was actually protected by the U.S. It did almost get bombed to shit, but only a little bit sustained destruction. Um, it's a beautiful town, and so yeah, Jojo Rabbit is fantastic on a number of reasons because it's just it's just great all around.
I I also just remembered. I thought it was hilarious that Yorkie,
Hmm.
he has a British accent.
Yeah, I think it was meant to be like a German
Well,
English.
but here's the thing. When so in my household, we always laugh about old movies because, that's what we do. And my mom always makes fun of two things. One, when they had white guys playing Native Americans, and two, when you had British people playing Nazis. And they've got no German accent whatsoever. It's totally like Cockney or something.
It was kind of bad when I watched the original Murder on the Orient Express with Sean Connery. I'm not entirely sure if he was supposed to be like actually British, but he just lived in India because of the whole history they had, or if he was meant to be an Indian person because he had a very Indian last name in the film, and you still had like the stereotypical Sean Connery, like, "Oh yes, hello there," and it's like, what is going on here?
Well, it's the same
Yeah.
thing in The Hunt for Red October, right?
Yeah. No,
Where he's supposed to be Russian, but he has his Scottish accent.
yeah. Yeah, but you remember that part in the movie where Alec Baldwin's like, "No, he's not Russian." And I'm like, "No shit."
Oh man.
Um, but I mean, and even when you watch a movie like Valkyrie, and it's like you've got Tom Cruise and whoever else, and they're not even trying the German accent. It's like, come on. But you actually have in Jojo Rabbit people who are trying a German accent. And the
It,
one person who doesn't do the German accent, it feels like more of a joke, you know? As
yeah.
like, oh, look, here's a British kid and he's supposed to be German. So I think that's another reason to talk about Jojo Rabbit a lot more.
Yeah, like just the whole arc of it, of how he goes from literally a fanatic um, to lying about winning the war to keep his friend. And then at the very end, when she like slaps him, he's like, "I deserve that." And it's like, "Yeah, you did, you little shit." But yeah, it kind of makes sense because, well, I don't want to say why it makes sense, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's a really good story.
yeah. I was very happily surprised.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Very, very happily. So,
Me too.
So now let's see. The movies I have checked out are Bumblebee, the Transformers spinoff, Men in
oh my
Black
God.
International, which I don't know. I have a very opinionated opinion of it already without seeing it. I found a movie that has OJ fucking Simpson in it. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like, what if there's a mission to Mars that was faked or something like that.
Oh,
Shit, I can't remember what it's called right now. But I just was like, oh, O.J. Simpson. Okay, let's watch this. Maybe it should have been used as Exhibit A. And then I managed to find Doctor Strangelove. So I've never seen that, but I am looking forward to watching it, and I will report back next week.
I don't think I've ever seen Doctor Strangelove either.
Ah, well, you could
it
come
is
over, and I've still got a few lambic beers, so.
it is honestly one of my all-time. If anybody wants to know where my politics comes from, it's Dr. Strangelove.
It is a comedy, right?
It is a dark comedy.
Is it
Um,
kind of along the lines of Jojo Rabbit?
Honestly, Doctor Strangelove. So I know a lot about the behind the scenes of it. So if you ever want to ask me any questions about that, I will be more than happy to tell you. But basically, Doctor Strangelove is finding a way to laugh in the face of the nuclear apocalypse. Because that's what everybody thought was going to happen. Oh, there's going to be a nuclear apocalypse and everybody's going to get wiped out. And uh, the filmmakers found a way to laugh at it.
Well, that's the thing. We've got Jojo Rabbit that came out in 2019, and World War II ended in 1945.
Yes.
trying to do a Google search of things.
Yes, it's 1945.
So Doctor Strangelove came out 1964. Oh shit. So that's
Yeah,
actually timely then.
yeah. It was, and actually, I don't think I'm giving anything away, but there was a scene they had to cut because the Kennedy assassination was still fresh in everybody's mind.
Yeesh. Yeah, so that's the thing is my point being Jojo Rabbit is probably one of the first. Well, I guess you could see Inglorious Bastards as one of the first. But Jojo Rabbit definitely does it better at making a film where you can laugh about World War II. However, that being said, it happens, well, I mean, some people's grandparents are still around and they fought in the war. But the point is, I think it's still going to take a lot more time before we see a good Vietnam comedy. I mean, there was oh, what was that clusterfuck with Robert Downey Jr.?
Oh, Tropic Thunder.
Yeah,
Yeah, Tropic Thunder.
that was kind of funny, but it's funny because it's like bad.
Because it's making fun of Hollywood.
Yeah, but also we really got our asses handed to us in Vietnam, so it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to laugh about that. But I think a movie will be made at some point, but
I
I
mean,
think it'll still be at least another 20 years before something like that comes out.
but there is, um, I want to say it is a comedy, maybe not about the Vietnam War, but it's in the Vietnam War. Good Morning Vietnam,
Yeah,
starring Robin Williams.
Oh yeah, I still haven't seen that. I,
it's a good
I don't
movie.
I don't know. I feel like that's still had some serious tones though, from what I'm
Oh
aware
yeah,
of.
Oh, most
but
definitely. Yeah.
but I mean,
And
so does, you know,
yeah, another Kubrick film that talks about Vietnam, Full Metal Jacket, uh, 1987. So that came out about 10 years,
yeah, about
10, 15
yeah, 12
years.
years.
And everyone remembers the first half as being really fucking funny, but the second half is really fucking dark.
Yeah,
So, I don't know. To have something along the lines of Jojo Rabbit talking about Vietnam, I think we still have to wait for it.
Yeah. Well, before we have something like funny to that makes it worth laughing over.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll probably be a while before that's not so sensitive.
Yeah, but that's the other thing. Is like World War One. I don't like we won, but I don't think there's anything necessarily funny about it because it truly was a world war. Um, in that it kind of was like everyone against everyone. Yeah, there were allies and stuff, but World War Two, it was mostly just everyone against Hitler because he was so fucking crazy.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, even the uh, fellow Axis powers were pretty much like, what a nut job.
Yeah.
There's actually, you probably read this in your Steven Spielberg biography. He made a movie called 1941,
Oh yeah.
and there's a scene where this is probably one of the few good scenes from the movie. There's a Japanese sub, and this is cool. Toshiro Mifune plays a Japanese submarine captain, and he's arguing with Christopher Lee, who plays a Nazi guy. And they are so arguing, like, you crazy Jap and whatever. And Toshiro's like, you can take your Third Reich and shove it up your ass. And then throws him overboard.
I would love to see that actually, because Christopher Lee. We were just talking about Sean Connery having his accent. I feel like Christopher Lee wouldn't be able to do a very good like
Uh,
German impression either.
well, he one of the things about it that makes it authentic is, Toshiro's actually doing his lines in Japanese, and Christopher Lee's doing actual German.
Yeah, but he's got a very iconically deep voice that a lot of other movies kind of paint Germans as going,
Yeah,
"Oh yeah, hello."
but actually, I was kind of surprised to learn this. There was a movie I watched very young. It was one of the adaptations of Treasure Island. This one with uh, Charlton Heston and a very young Christian Bale. And I was very, very surprised that Christopher Lee played a blind Pew, because that voice that I knew him for, there were a lot of times where he was like on a higher register of voice. So, I mean,
Hmm.
you know, but it's kind of funny you bring up Connery, because there was one time I was talking with Wilma. Yeah, we're bringing this full circle. Uh, and we were talking about movies that I liked, and I was talking about The Wind and the Lion. And I was like, yeah, Sean Connery plays an Arab prince. Wilmot laughs and he's like, but it's Sean Connery.
Oh god. Does he even try an accent for that?
No, no,
So he's just riding around.
thankfully.
He's just riding around with a turban. Oh yes, hello there. I am Abdul
Yeah,
Muhammad something something.
basically, yes. But the movie is so good and he's so fun in it that you absolutely forgive him for it. Because I don't know, there were probably two other actors that would have done it, but I guess neither one of them were available. So why not Sean Connery?
I guess I still haven't seen a true Sean Connery James Bond film, but I gotta say my favorite performance he's done was as Indiana Jones' father. That felt like a good role for him, even though like he was pretty annoyed with it or something like that. But I mean, yes, it wasn't great, but it just fit him the most, I guess.
But I mean the humor of the characters, it's like, this is Indiana Jones' father. It's like, what the
Yeah, it's
but but that's the fun of it.
yeah.
And
That or League
but
of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, he was pretty good in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
That was
But
also pretty good.
yeah, I'd say the film that I want to see that he did, which seems like it's going to be really fun, is Zardos.
What is that?
Oh, you're going to have to look it up. I've seen trailers for it. It's like well, it was filmed in like 1974, but it's a sci-fi.
oh boy.
But
Oh
it
dear.
looks like it's just ridiculously bad, but yet just fun to watch. I think that there was some drug use in the creation of it. So
More than likely.
Man, if we were to put Sean Connery into Star Wars, what character would he play?
um, hmm.
Put him in as uh, Palpatine. Yes, come to the dark side.
Chewbacca.
Ah!
Roar.
And
Roar.
his fur is plaid, leather kilt.
Oh, that would be too perfect. I don't know. It could have been Obi-Wan, like Alec Guinness Obi-Wan, old Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah. I what about Yoda?
Hmm. Nah. Nah. I think Frank Oz has to
I'm
stay
not
there.
saying I'm not saying he should, but I'm just trying out the hats here.
C3PO. Hello, Master Luke. I am
People, people,
C3PO.
people.
Oh god. Just stick him in as a fucking gonk droid. The little
I mean,
walking
as long
trash
as we're
can.
just putting ridiculous hats on him, why not Princess Leia?
Oh god, that just brought back the scene from Spaceballs where it's the stunt doubles. Oh man.
Yeah, she's Sean Connery in the Princess Leia slave outfit.
Oh. Oh, I
Hey,
actively want to throw
it
up
would
right
be
now.
10 times better than that monstrosity I told you not to look at, but you had to look at Comic-Con.
Oh god. Took me a second to
Yeah,
remember that. Ugh. Yeah, good times ish.
I
Not.
told you not to look, idiot.
I love how we survived off of root beer and
That
that
was
was about it.
that was it. That was
And stale air.
I mean the donuts we had that morning before we left. That was
Thank
like
God
what,
we
10
got
o'clock?
donuts.
What?
Thank God we ate anything before we left.
Yeah. That was that was quite a trip, Landon. Uh you probably would have been as out of shape as we were.
Probably.
Oh man, I feel like Landon might have cosplayed though.
He would have.
Maybe.
Oh
Depends on how
man.
drunk I was.
But there was only like what, two people out of the whole group maybe who
Uh,
cost.
I think so, yeah. Man, we found some pretty good gems though. I got to start my Studio Ghibli collection, and you found, um,
Battle Pope.
yeah, Battle Pope.
I'm still
That's.
looking for the other two issues.
Oh man, do they have them at your library?
I don't think so. I'll have to check, but
It's one thing that they don't have Battle Pope. It's another that they do have the furry trap.
don't go there. Don't go there. I will beat you over this fucking phone.
Ugh, that's gross. That was
Don't
pretty
even
fucking
don't
gross.
let's not even go. Okay.
Let's just end now. It's an hour and 10 minutes in.
Well, we
Good, I'm
don't have
getting
to end.
hungry.
I'm just saying, don't go there, please.
Oh god, Landon, you wouldn't have an appetite if you've seen even one page out of this goddamn book.
I'm glad I don't have to look at it right now.
Yeah, don't.
And for
Stay
you
away.
viewers out there who just fell for reverse psychology, I feel
It's your own fucking fault.
yeah.
Or it's Stuart's fault.
Well,
Blame it on Stuart.
sure. I blame Joe though because he's the one who showed it to me.
Because you're like, show me. And it's like, I warned you.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Yeah, it was bad though.
It was.
So, on
Talk
that
about
note,
something
let's
else,
all
please.
go flush that out of an airplane
I
Okay.
might have to flush something.
and go have lunch now, I guess. Anyway, thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next week. Well, 3 weeks from next week.
Later.
Toodaloo.
Yeah.